Okay, welcome to Restore 45. So 45 minutes to get into our bodies, right? And hopefully out of our heads a little bit. So we're going to be hitting the back line specifically for maybe some plantar fascia pain, heel pain, any kind of low back pain. It can be helpful to relieve the calves, the feet, and the outer hips. So if you have a myofascial or a tennis ball, a strap, 2 blocks. I always like to have a blanket. It's nice for a cushion on the knees. But let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start in our seat and we're going to start rolling our left calf. So grab your block at the lowest height. It has the most surface area. And the first place we're going to we're not really rolling, we're going to be compressing. So just body weight of the leg. If you want to think about the really meaty part of your calf. So if you think about when someone says your calf, you're probably going to grab that more upper section, like below the knee versus just above the ankle. So go ahead and put the ball on the block. It might roll away, so if you want to hold it, and then just try to put like the center of the meaty part of your calf on there. What's going to happen possibly is that those calves are going to separate a little bit and the ball's going to immediately fall in between them because there's a left and a right gastroc. So that's what we want to do. We want it to separate so that we hit deep into what's called the soleus, which is what the Achilles has turned into. So if you don't think you're in a spot that feels tender, one, just be super grateful. Or two, if you would like, you can lean back and come to your hands either the whole time or right now to start. You could lift up your hips a little bit if that's helpful. Otherwise, you could just roll and bend your knee a little bit, rolling down just a little bit or up a little bit by extending a little bit more through the knee. I just like to lift, keep that leg really heavy. I'm going to go up and down 1, 2, 3 inches max. We want to stay within that meaty part. So this is just to give you some feedback on if you find sort of a crunchy, uncomfortable, stuck, tight spot. So once you do, or if you do, lower back down and come back into compression. So your foot is relaxed. We're not trying to stretch and push to the heel. We just have a really sort of relaxed leg as much as possible. And then we're going to take 6 more deep, easy breaths. So try to just drop the weight, no muscular effort, soften the features of your face. Feel free to even close your eyes. Nice full inhales, nice full exhales. Great, and one more time, big full breath in, big full breath out. So a technique that I usually go over is called plucking, which means we kind of like pluck over from different muscle groups. Honestly, I just don't feel like it's been that helpful for me in this specific area. So we're going to do a little bit different than we normally do. Go ahead and look at your left foot, turn your toes inward, and hopefully when you did that, you pop the ball into the inner gastroc, so the inner calf muscle. Same thing, lift up and roll a little bit, 1, 2, 3 inches max. If you find a tight spot, feel free to pause. If you are enjoying this sort of rolling sensation, feel free to continue to roll up and down the length of it versus side to side. Side to side is going to be plucking. If you're curious about plucking, just come back to that initial position, full body weight. It's sort of dropping in. Then you just rotate those toes out, back up, and in. Back up and out and in. It's just going to keep plucking over the medial gastroc, the soleus in the middle, and that lateral gastroc. So like I said, option to roll over, toes point in, you're on the medial border, hang out, that plucking, or lift and roll just a little bit. And let's take 6 more breaths. Great job. If you're rolling, let's go ahead and lower, drop the weight. Take 2 more deep breaths. Full inhale, full exhale. Great. If you've been plucking, I'm going to ask that you hit both the inner and the outer, the medial and the lateral gastrocs, and decide which one feels more uncomfortable, and then stick with that so that you get 2 different techniques here. If you did that inner one, let's hit the outer. So your toes are going to point more out. I find that this is a lot more tender side. Now, this doesn't have to be for everybody, but we have 2 bones in our lower leg mostly. So the tibia, which is what we would think of as the shin bone, same technique, toes out, stay, lift, roll a little bit to find a spot, then drop, or that plucking. But the other one is called the fibula, and it's also referred to as the calf bone. So there's a bone that starts in the lateral part of the knee, and it goes in and it drops deep into the calf. So it might feel like you're pushing on a bone, and you probably are. You could also be hitting the peroneals, which tend to be tight in a lot of people. So stillness or some movement, but try to have those nice full inhales, nice complete exhales. Relax your jaw, relax the tops of your shoulders. Sometimes leaning back on your wrist can be a lot on your wrists. Okay, let's take 2 or 3 more deep breaths. Great, one more time. Big full inhale, big deep exhale. Great, and then rotate those toes up, lift that leg up and off. We're gonna find our strap. Option 1, put the strap around the ball of your foot. Try to avoid the arch. Some people get cramping when you put on the arch. It's kind of one of the only main reasons. Or go ahead and come to your back. It's less intense on your back. So if sitting on the floor can be uncomfortable, just roll onto your back. Again, the mounds of the toes. We're going to try to lock out our knee, but gently. So I don't want you to like squeeze your quad and lock out the knee and it feels really uncomfortable. I do want you to have a little bit of pulling on the strap, and I want you to push your heel away. We're going to do this for 30 seconds. I'm going to start us, and then I'm going to stop counting so you don't have to hear my voice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll keep counting in my head. Full deep breaths like there's a big open valve. Inhale, open valve, exhale. We're here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. 2 more deep breaths. Great. One more big inhale. As you exhale, come out. So if you're on your back, maybe soften the knee into the chest. If you're seated, come out of that, relax, maybe roll through your wrist for a second. We're going to do one more round of that 30 second. So regrip. If you're on your back and that's way too much in your shoulders, just slide your hands down. But we do want a little bit of feedback. And then we also want some effort to push the heel away. Leg is more straight than not. We're going to hit this in a bent knee position once we hit the lower portion of the soleus. Keep breathing. 5. Relax your face. Big open valve on that breath. Relax the jaw, the front of the throat. We're here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Deep breath in. Exhale, slowly come out. This time, ditching the strap. Roll around under the ankle, whether you're seated or on your back. Maybe roll through your wrist to give them a break after that effort on the strap. Great. If you're on your back, we're going to come back up to a seat. Take your time. Use sort of yourself to help yourself. And then this time we're going to hit the lower portion of the soleus. So I have a brace on my ankle, so I'm going to show you the opposite leg. So we don't want to be on the Achilles tendon. So if you actually look at your own body, you can see when you flex your foot, it sort of pops out and you can palpate on it. We do want to be higher up. We don't want to be just on that really thin cord. All right, we want to be a little bit higher, but we're going to be below that meaty portion of the calf. So same thing as before, we're going to place the ball on the block. Again, that lowest height usually gives you more surface area. I'm going to kind of just gauge looking at my leg, and I'm going to drop it down just below that really meaty part. So we're going to try to relax the foot, let the leg be heavy. My knee naturally extended and kind of locked out because of the location of the ball. So I do like to lift my butt here and roll forward and backward just like 1 inch. That's just me. You could also play around with lowering down, lifting the leg, lift the leg off the ball, rotate the toes out, left to the left, or in and a little bit to the right. And then same thing. So you might have gotten to the lower portion of the calf stalks, or maybe it's just that inner outer border. Again, we have the peroneals and we have a lot of other sort of things going on in this upper ankle area. The Achilles itself is super dense, super strong, as you can imagine. So there can be a lot of tightness, a lot of fibrosis or adhesions, really, it's a matter of semantics. Stillness or movement, but be kind. Open valve on the breathing. Let's take 6 more deep inhales, 6 more deep exhales. Great job. If you're lifted up, why don't you go ahead and lower down. Take one more big breath in and a big breath out. Great job. Slowly lift on up. And we are going to do 2 30-second holds yet again in a calf stretch. This time we want a bent knee. So if you prefer to stay seated, maybe place the block a little bit underneath the hamstring. It can help with the bend to the knee. Otherwise, come onto your back again, but we'll be strapping up the mound of the toes on the left foot. And then from my back, I'm just going to take a nice bend to my knee, but same concept. I'm grabbing the strap. I'm going to slide my elbows down so that they're more chill. And then I'm pulling a little bit and I'm pushing a lot through my heel. I'm going to relax through my face. I'm going to try to have that open valve breathing. When the knee is bent, we should be hitting right where we are rolling or compressing a little bit more specifically. Breathe, 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 breathe. Just over halfway. Relax your jaw, the front of your throat, the features of your face. Feel free to close your eyes to concentrate. We're here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Take a big breath in. Exhale, soften and come out. Roll the wrist for a second. Maybe point and flex and roll around in the ankle. Great. One more round. Find your straps. Bend your knee. Effort pulling on the straps without white knuckling, without squeezing your face too hard, and then push that heel up. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Full inhales, full exhales, full inhales, full exhales. We're here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. One more inhale. Exhale, soften. Great job. Slowly come out. Take that left leg out if you're seated or up to the sky if you're on your back. Again, just point and flex and roll around into your wrists and your ankles. We're going to make our way to standing. We're going to need our ball. I really like to have a wall nearby, but if you're at your home, you can kind of do this wherever, right? You can be holding onto a sofa, a desk, just something that can help you balance if you need it. So I'm going to try to face you all, but I might turn if it becomes a little too wobbly. Place the ball on the ground. I'm going to be placing the dead center of the sole of my left foot onto the ball. So think if you drew an X through your foot, so the center of your arch, and then center left to right. And we're going to press and release, press and release. It doesn't have to be 100% effort. Let's say around 70, 75%. Pressing and releasing. Tell the body to pay attention to this area. Great, just 2 more times like this. Great, then we're going to stay in the center of the foot, but we're going to start rolling back towards the heel. And once it sort of becomes, okay, the arch is now turning into the heel, I'm just going to shift my weight forward. I'm going to drop my toes down like I'm wearing a high heel. Same thing, I'm going to press and release, press and release. So about 70 to 75% effort. You might not know, but if you're kind of gritting your teeth or you stop breathing when you push down, maybe you're just pushing too hard. So a little bit less than that, right? Again, right where like the arch and the heel begin, so it's not at the center of the heel. Great, 2 more times. Great, right leg is just wherever it's supportive. Obviously, left hand or right hand can be helpful. Lift the toes, start rolling back through the center where we just were. Keep going forward now, and then let the mound of the toes and the arch become one. Shift back so that your heel drops. Some people, this is really tight. Your heel can't touch. Don't overthink it, but think about a gas pedal, pushing and releasing, pushing and releasing. Remember, if you can't breathe, don't push so much. Or if your heel's lifted, don't worry. You're still pushing and releasing in the same area. Great. 2 more times. Great. And then we're going to stay in this area. So if your heel's down, cool. If it's not, cool. You're going to kind of visualize, though, if your heel's not down, visualize that it is down. And you're just going to keep some pressure, push and keep pressure. And you're just going to slightly, like 2 centimeters, roll a little bit to the left, keep the pressure, roll back to center, and a little bit to the right. So I'm keeping that pressure, and I'm just rocking a teeny tiny bit with my toes like a windshield wiper. So my heel is either grounded or visualizing that it's grounded so that I'm just rocking those toes from left to the right about 1 to 4 centimeters max. Great job. And then lift up and off for a moment. Put your left foot down on the same surface as the right foot. Just notice, take a couple breaths. So we usually go through a big routine when we press and articulate each knuckle and then keep pressure and roll all the way to the heel. We're just going to pretend like there's 3 arches in our feet, and we're going to try to hit 3 of those. So we're going to pretend like the one is from around the mound of the big toe. We're going to press and roll all the way back to the heel. Stop the pressure, move the ball, and then press at the center, sort of where the middle toe and that ring toe are, and then roll back to the heel. And then again, you don't want to keep the pressure as you go back up. Find the ball, remove it, place it around the pinky edge, that lateral edge, press, and then hold that effort all the way back. So think about it, left, right, or center, right? That's how I'll kind of cue this. So try to do at least 2 rounds of each of those arches. So we're just pretending like that's where the 3 arches are, which they aren't, but that's okay. It's still going to get a lot of crunchy stuff and good stuff. You could do 2 or 3 rounds of each and then head to the next section, or do all 3. Come back and start again, do all 3. Keep the pressure as you roll towards the heel, then release right back to that beginning, releasing the pressure, then finding it. Great, try to hit maybe 1 more round of each, or if you found a spot that was more uncomfortable than not, left, right, or center, go back to that one and do at least 1 more round. How about that? Great job. And then go ahead 1 more time, come off. Feel free to stand in mountain. Feel free to inhale, take your arms up, exhale to a forward fold. We're gonna take about 6 breaths, either standing there and noticing, or feel free to come to a forward fold and notice. Both are places of gathering information, right? Side to side. Okay, our next move is that we're going to make our way to our mats. So if you went to a forward fold, take your head above your heart for a moment, and then all the way up. We're going to need both of our blocks. We're going to have them near the top of the mat, and we're going to be stepping our left foot back to a lunge that is manageable. All right, so I like blocks in the highest height, kind of come near the top of the mat, about hip width distance, but then you're really going to play around with a distance that works for you. And then we're just going to play around with shifting that left heel back, up, and slightly forward. So just trying to get sort of a more body weight stretch here into these tissues. Again, they're dense, they're strong. They help us and hold us upright. They're supposed to be dense and strong. They're also supposed to be dynamic. So if we don't do any of these things a lot, that's when we can maybe run into some issues in the tissues. All right, so now we're going to play around with letting that left heel just sink back naturally. Don't yank it to the earth. If it feels uncomfortable and it's not touching, option to hop it closer so that the heel touches, or this is where like a blanket could be really nice. You could have a blanket back here and it could just hold your heel up, right? But now we're just going to play around with stretching a little bit through the right hamstring and the sciatica and the right glute. So what it's going to look like is I'm going to inhale and I'm going to straighten through my right leg. It doesn't have to fully straighten, but I'm going to shift the hips back, straightening through the right knee, and I'm going to look forward. So I'm trying to draw my shin forward. That's going to help floss that sciatic nerve. I want you to notice your right hip. If it's swayed out to the side, try to draw it straight back with your right heel. Stay here with the legs straight. Take a big breath in. Exhale, drop your crown. Great. Next time you inhale, bend your knees, shift forward to your low lunge. And the next time you inhale, straighten that right leg back, draw that right hip in, look forward, keep that chin drawing forward, keep breathing, take a big inhale. Exhale, drop your crown. Great, we're going to keep doing this. Draw forward, and then inhale, look forward, right leg back. Exhale, drop your crown. Great, shift it forward. Inhale, straighten that right leg, look forward, that's key. Exhale, drop your crown. Great, so find a rhythm that works for you. Some people like to inhale, exhale out of it immediately, sort of recoiling in and out of that. And that's to intend start at that pace that we did. So inhaling and then dropping the crown as you exhale, and then shifting forward when you feel ready. We're going to take about 2 more rounds. Great, relax your jaw. Look forward, shift forward. We're going to hop our left foot hip width distance to the right, and then thread your left foot behind the right. So option to have your right big toe behind the left heel, kind of angle the toes out so it's right pinky towards outer left heel, or maybe you slide it up a little bit, Don't feel like you have to be pinky to pinky, but that's the cue a lot of times because we want the pinky sides of the feet kind of working towards one another. It's going to help with that internal rotation and it's going to help with that lateral hip. So if this feels quite intense, you're going to stay here. You can play around with taking some cat-cows. That should give you some feedback on the tissues we're looking to stretch, so pelvic bowl sort of forward and backward. You could also walk those blocks a bit towards 10 o'clock if straightforward was 12. And I even like to reach more through the right to hit that QL. And then I'm going to try to relax the back of my neck, the tissues on my skull. Even though we're working our hips, but those tend to stress out when we're doing major things in other areas, right? So just some body awareness. Great job. One more inhale. Exhale, start to come out. I like to soften my knees first, meaning bend through them. Walk the blocks more neutral. Unthread those feet. Let's take a bent knee position, hands up to our thighs. Maybe shoulders pop into your ears, but look forward. Take your head above your heart. Great. Take another big breath in. And when you exhale, push to the center of your heel and stand on up. Roll through your wrists if you like. Sway a little bit side to side if you'd like. Roll your shoulders up as you breathe in, back and down as you breathe out. And do that 2 more times with your breath, rolling those shoulders up, back, and away. Great job. Let's make our way back to the floor so that we can do that through the other side. So take your time. No direction on how to do it. Part of doing all these things is so that we can just kind of stand up and get down a little bit easier. So finding ways in your body that it makes sense to do that. Block on the lowest height, the most surface area, right? Ball on top. We're going to be hitting the meaty part of our calves, so the gastrocs, and we want to be at the center of the meaty part of your calf. And full body weight. So we want them to maybe separate. Some people, they drop right away. Other people, it's like you have to be here for the full 2 minutes, and then right at the end they go. So don't force it. Don't push on the ball at all. The body weight should be plenty. If you would like, remember, you could push through your hands, lift your hips up a little bit, and roll with a lazy, I'd like to have a bent opposite knee. So then you can push to the opposite heel too. That can be helpful versus having it out like I just did. We don't need to roll this area. We can certainly, but for what we're doing, we're going to roll a little bit further down. So this is more of like just finding a little crunchy or a knot or something, and then coming back to that compression if you could stand it. Moving a little bit if you can't though, right? Like honoring that. Relax your jaw, soften your face. Take 6 more deep breaths. Okay, one more time, big breath in, big breath out. And slowly lift that leg up and off. And then we're going to be placing it on the right calf, the outer lateral right calf. So pointing your toes out to the side so that you're in that lateral one. So remember, we have that, it's going to be that fibia, the bone, the calf bone might feel like you're nudging into it. So move it if it's too intense. I feel like the lateral calf tends to be a little bit more intense. Because of that, there can be some adhesions or things just kind of awkward and not around bones, around tendons. So sometimes just knowing that. But remember, a couple of the options was staying in stillness and compression on that right outer calf, lifting and rolling it if you kind of like this rolling technique forward and backward. You could also kind of just stay on your butt and bend the knee and straighten it a little bit. That kind of gives you that same technique. Just make sure the ball or the block is not fully keeping you from doing that. Or if you want to try that plucking, remember that was an option of toes pointed out, keep heavy on that ball, toes point up and then over and into the left. So you're plucking from side to side. If you're plucking, sometimes it's also better to have the block on the lowest height, but on a wider angle side to side, because you can kind of get a little rhythm going. Again, I'm just finding that my calves are just feel like a bag of rocks. So just sort of compression or really subtle rolling seems a little bit more helpful for me than plucking. But do you take a few more breaths? Great. When you're ready, we're going to head to the inner border. So lift the leg, the inner calf. And then remember, if you were plucking though, maybe do a little bit on the inside, a little bit on the outside, or just find a knot on one of them and stick with that area as long as you can breathe through it. Stillness, moving, plucking, try something new or do the exact same thing. Definitely try not to overthink it. Just a nice rule of thumb is if you can't easily breathe through it, we should try something different. All right, 2 more deep breaths, whatever you're doing. Great, and then if you can, just lazily lift that leg up and off. We're gonna find our strap. We're gonna do that first round of stretching. So option to stay seated, mound of the right foot, extend that leg out. And we want a straight knee as much as possible without like squeezing the quad in order to like hyperflex into the knee. Another great option, just sit on back to your back. But effort on the strap. So we are pulling on the straps. We are pushing the heel away. And we're breathing for 5, 6, 7, 8. Open valve on that breathing. We're here for 30 seconds for 2 rounds. Keep breathing. Noticing the stretch sensation. Does it feel about the same as the other side? Is this totally different or unique? Breathing for 5, 4, 3, 2. Take one more inhale and effort. Exhale, soften and come out. If you're seated, point and flex, maybe roll the wrist for a moment. And then right back into it. Mound of your foot. If you're on your back, it's up to the sky. Try not to squeeze the thigh to overextend the knee. Some effort on the strap. Heel has definitely got effort pushing away. Relax your face, open valve on breathing. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Keep breathing. Focus on those inhales. Focus on those exhales. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. One more inhale effort. Exhale, find some ease. Whether you're seated or on your back, roll those wrists, ankles. Feel free to bend the knee. Great, we're coming back to a seat if you're not already for one more spot. We would like to hit lower into that soleus. Again, it's always nice just to look at your own body. So if you kind of flex your foot, that ropey thing that's sticking out the back of your ankle, that's going to be your Achilles. Keep heading up. And then it's below the sort of meaty part of the calf still. So we don't want to be on that center ropey area. We want to be just above that. So for me, this tends to be crazy tight on both sides. I also like to roll this area, but I want you to be really mindful that you don't roll down toward the tendon of the Achilles. We still want to be at the beginning of the soleus, which is more muscular. We're dealing with the myofascial, the muscular fascia. So stillness, bend and straighten the knee just a little bit, or lift your butt and just a tiny, tiny forward and backward. Also, sometimes just the forward and backward gives us feedback to be like, ooh, right here. And then I lower down and relax. Another option, I know you need more options, is just lifting a little bit, pointing the toes out. You're just going to be a little bit more on the lateral side, or lift and point them in. You're going to be a little bit more on that medial side. Everybody's body's different. Great. If you're doing anything that's creating too much effort or resistance anywhere, please try to relax as much as you can. Relax your jaw. 2 more inhales, 2 more exhales. Great. And then slowly, again, lifting up that leg. Great. Remove the ball to the side. We're going to be taking that bent knee stretch 2 rounds of 30 seconds. So either seated, maybe the block underneath that thigh, just above the bend of the knee, or one more time, come onto your back. Mounds of our foot. Knee is nice and bent. Feel free to slide those elbows all the way to the earth, but we do want a little bit of effort of pulling on the straps as we push through the heel, even with a bent knee. Relax your face, breathe. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Relax your face, the front of your throat. Concentrate on the breathing. I know this can be a little bit awkward of a version. Big full inhales, big full exhales, little effort on the straps, a lot of effort in that heel. We're here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Take a big breath in. Exhale, come out for a moment. Whatever that looks like, fully out of it, maybe straighten that leg. Great. One more round here. So grabbing the straps, whether you're seated on your back, we want to bend to the knee. Once we invite the bend of the knee, start to push the heel away, and then you can pull on the strap a bit. Open valve on that breathing. Breathe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep breathing. Soften where you can. Focus where it's most helpful. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. One more inhale effort. Exhale, ease, soften, roll your wrists and ankles. Feel free to bend the knee, whether you're seated or on your back. And when you feel ready, we're going to make our way to a standing position. I want to hit all these lovely things on the other side. Take your time. We're going to need our ball. Again, if it was helpful to have a little bit of a support, you want to be near it. Otherwise, don't overthink it. We'll be placing the ball on the floor. If you'd like to pause in mountain, if you would like to take a ragdoll and see how you're doing side to side, feel free to do that. We'll give you an opportunity, though, once we roll the feet. Give you just a second here to decide on what you want to do or not. Great. And then we will be making our way up to a standing position. Left leg, left foot's going to go wherever it feels supportive. Think the center of your foot, if you drew an X into your foot. We're pressing and releasing, pressing and releasing. About 75%. If you're not sure what 75% is, if you're gritting your teeth or every time you push, you stop breathing, it's too much. Let it be that simple. Do less. Great job. One more time. All right, and then we're going to start rolling back to where the arch and the heel meet. So it's at that connection point, so we're not near the center of the heel. I'm going to shift forward and drop my toes down. And then same thing, pressing and releasing, pressing and releasing. First few rounds are going to be gauging how much pressure. Do I hike up my shoulders to my ears every time I push? Can I relax? Can I breathe? Great, just 2 more rounds. Great, and then lifting up those toes. This might be a great spot to grab on. Keep a little bit of pressure, but not a lot, as you roll back through the center, and then where the arch and the mounds of the toes meet, you're going to shift back. So for some of us, we can hit our heel. For some of us, we can't. So just visualize like you're pushing a gas pedal and releasing, pushing that gas pedal and releasing. If your heel is floating, don't overthink it. Just let it be like super chill and relaxed. In fact, try to let the whole foot be pretty chill. We don't need to be flexing or fanning out our toes or anything. Great, let's take 2 more rounds. And then this is the area we're going to pause here. Visualize your heel is down if it's not, but that's kind of the angle in which we're looking. We're going to push and keep pressure, and we're just going to roll a teeny tiny bit, like a centimeter or 2 to the left with toes pointing out to the right. Come back to center, keep that pressure, and then toes roll in a little bit. And the ball rolls more to the outer side, right? More lateral. So in and out with that pressure, nice and slow and steady. And if it feels like you can barely move side to side, either less pressure or be totally cool with what you're doing. Great job. Come a little bit more towards center. Lift on up entirely. step off the ball, both feet on the same surface if you can. So even if you're on carpet or something, just on the same surface. And then let's visualize 3 arches in our feet that we're going to roll, even though the third arch actually goes across the mounds of the toes, but we're going to do a left, right, and center one. So the mound of the big toe, find some pressure. Both the toes and the heel are up, unless you have really big feet. Maybe they're touching, but you're sort of at the center. Push down. Keep the pressure as you roll all the way towards that heel, nice and slow. It might feel like bubble wrap. It might feel snap, crackle, poppy. Stick with it or go really slow. Come off the pressure as you kick the ball back to or move it back to you. And then around the center of the mounds of the toes, keep that pressure rolling down the center of the arch, which we've kind of visited. Doesn't mean it feels any better. Hooey. Keep breathing. So visualize those 3 spots. Now we're going to be more towards that pinky edge. We'll call this the right arch or that lateral arch. This is an actual arch in our foot. The medial and the lateral. Transverse goes across those mounds of the toes, but for the purpose of this, again, like I said, we'll just pretend like we have 3. Ooh, I found a spot. So if you find a spot and you're like, I should address this, meaning it seems like I need to address it, hang out there. If you can't breathe through it or the pain feels too awful, move just off it and breathe. Or just keep kind of going through it with this movement, right? That can be nice. Just a little bit less pressure, go up and over, hydrate this area, tell the body to pay attention to this area, tell the lymphs that there might be something that you need to clean out over here, or just bypass it, right? So either if you found a spot, stick with it in any way that it makes sense to you, or just head to that next arch. But we'll try to do 1 or 2 more passes in an area that seems like it might need it, or just evening out. Great job. And when you feel done, stepping off one more time, mountain pose or back to that forward fold. Maybe inhale, take your arms up. Exhale, coming down. But just being curious about side to side again, if you did the forward fold, and even if you didn't, if you stayed in mountain, it can still be a great place to gather some information, standing evenly in your feet, or maybe rocking a little bit and then find stillness, or vice versa. Let's take a few more breaths wherever we are. And then if you went to a forward fold, you're going to take your time, maybe bend your knees, look forward, take your hands up to your thighs, getting our head above our heart. That can always be nice if you're in mountain, just enjoy. Take one more inhale and then drag through the heels a bit. Exhale to stand up. Great. We're going to need our blocks at the top of the mat. And this time we're going to be stepping that right foot back to get that manual stretching. So again, the distance is really up to you. The distance as far as hip width distance or wider. Wider is going to be a wider base, which might be a little bit easier for you to manage. And then the distance between the front foot and the back foot. So I just want you to have the heel seek the earth, whether it touches or not, and then lift it up and maybe a little bit forward, hitting those toes, right? That can be a nice stretch a little bit in that upper fascia layer that we didn't really get to. So again, think about maybe the heel seeking the earth and then seeking as far forward as you can. Take another round or 2. And then we're going to be allowing the right heel to either sink back and you just kind of hang out there, don't overthink it, or this is that spot where if you want to put roll up your mat or roll up a blanket, you can put that underneath your heel if it doesn't touch, or one more option, just stepping more forward so the right heel touches. But I do want some distance between the left and the right leg, because we're going to play around with bending the left knee more like it's in a lunge, and then we're going to inhale and straighten the left leg, try to pull that left hip in, left sit bone straight back, and you're going to look forward. That's going to be the key to hit that sciatic area. So I want the chin forward. We're flossing that nerve. Take a big breath in here. Exhale to drop your crown. Great. Next time you inhale, bend the knee, shift it forward. We're going to move back with an inhale. Inhale to straighten. Look forward. Take another breath. And as you exhale, drop your crown. Great. Next time you inhale, shift it more forward. When you inhale next, draw that left hip back, straighten the left leg, look forward. Exhale, drop your crown. So I'm going to cut you loose. Let's take 4 or 5 more rounds. Remember, some people like to just do this one breath, one movement. Inhaling, looking forward, straightening. Exhale, drop the crown. Inhale, or sorry, that was actually 2 breaths, right? Or inhale, straighten, look forward. Exhale, bend the knee, check the chin. So that would be 1 breath. sort of one movement. Otherwise, the first option was inhale and then exhale, drop the crown. That can be nice. And then just restart. Great. Just take 1 or 2 more rounds. Great. And then shifting forward after your next round, lift that right heel, step it about hip width distance. And then thread your left foot behind the right foot this time. Remember, it could be more like left big toe to right heel, or pinky to heel, pinky to arch, pinky to pinky. Stay where you are, do some cat cows, lean your butt back, arms forward, or reach a little bit more towards 2 o'clock. Again, I like to just reach a tiny bit more through that left hand. Just feels good on that QL and side body. And then drop the head. Relax your jaw. Try not to tense out at the upper shoulders, back of the skull, or the features of your face. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Great. If you went over to the side, take 1 more inhale. Exhale, start to walk your hands a little bit closer, more manageable. Come back. If you twisted it all, unthread those feet. Wider than hip distance, hands up to our thighs, bend your knees, look forward. Great, 1 more time here. Take a big breath in and then stand up to mountain as you exhale. We are all done with our practice. We got to a perfect spot where we can have about 4 minutes for Shavasana. So if you had some room for a wall, this would be an awesome place to take legs up the wall after all that work. If it doesn't sound good to you or you don't want to do it, come to your back on your mat. Pretty much any possible shape that makes sense to you, that would feel supportive, nourishing, helpful, I'd love for you to take that. So if it's supported butterfly, some people like being on their belly, you could play around with blocks on the medium height, having your calves supported, and then the ankles just relax. Could put a blanket on you. You could put something supportive behind your neck. You've got a couple minutes here to settle in and then to fully be in stillness as much as you can. So taking that time, if you haven't already, to start adjusting into your shape. And just depending on when you're taking this class, if it's in the evening or if it's in the morning or middle of the day, setting a sankalpa, an intention for what you would like for yourself with kindness based on this present moment, based on what you're in and what you're going through. So just for example, if it's the evening, maybe the intention, the sankalpa is, I will have restful sleep tonight. Simple, relatable, necessary. Maybe repeating it a couple times, or if at any point it feels overwhelming or your thoughts are just kind of jumping to too many things, just take a full breath in and a full breath out. And wherever you are, start to notice your breath again. Noticing your inhales, noticing your exhales, noticing that you're in a body breathing. What does it feel like? Always doing our best to find that balance of effort and ease. It's not a destination, but rather a daily practice. So taking a moment to thank yourself for showing up and doing something kind and helpful. I thank you. And I'll leave you be for as long as you would like. Namaste. Thanks for joining.